The jury's decision announced just over an hour ago. Jose Inez Garcia Zarate, not guilty of first or second degree murder or manslaughter. The only conviction, felony possession of a firearm. 32-year-old Kate Steinle was shot in July of 2015 as she walked with her father along San Francisco's Pier 14. The gun that killed her was stolen from a car belonging to an agent with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. Steinle's family issuing a statement to the Chronicle saying, quote, "We're just shocked, saddened and shocked." They went on to say justice was rendered, but it was not served. We have team coverage of the stunning verdict and the reaction, starting with KPIX 5's Andria Borba. She was in the courtroom when the decision came down. Andria?
Well, Alan, inside the courtroom, it was stunned silence when that verdict was read. Once everyone had left, the gallery had left, Mr. Zarate hugged his public defender, Matt Gonzalez, after everyone left the building. Now, it was clear from that verdict that the jury believed Matt Gonzalez's version of events, that the shooting on Pier 14 was accidental. When asked if this case was overcharged as a first-degree murder case, Alex Bastian from the San Francisco District Attorney's Office said it passed the preliminary hearing process and other filters.
It was a verdict we were not hoping for. I know that both sides fought very hard, but again, the jury is the one, the jurors are the ones that make a determination on the case, and we will respect that decision.
Now, Zarate will face between 16 months and 3 years for being a felon in possession of a firearm. But time served will already count against that sentence. Public defender Matt Gonzalez, who Zarate hugged after the verdict was read, had this to say about the political firestorm ignited and fueled by this case, including taking a shot at the White House.
For those who might criticize this verdict, there are a number of people that have commented on this case in the last couple of years. The Attorney General of the United States, the President and Vice President of the United States. Let me just remind them that they are themselves under investigation by a special prosecutor in Washington, D.C., and they may themselves soon avail themselves of the presumption of innocence and the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. And so I would ask them to reflect on that before they comment or disparage the result in this case.
Now, we have learned that there's a federal warrant out for Mr. Zarate, who is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. We believe at this point it was issued by the federal marshal's office. Now, just a short time ago, the Steinle family told the San Francisco Chronicle that they are saddened and they are shocked that justice was rendered in this case, but it was not served. Live in San Francisco, Andria Borba, KPIX 5.
All right, Andria, thanks so much.
We have the first comment on the verdict from the Trump administration. Attorney General Jeff Sessions issued this statement, quote, "When jurisdictions choose to return criminal aliens to the streets rather than turning them over to federal immigration authorities, they put the public's safety at risk." He went on to say, "I urge the leaders of the nation's communities to reflect on the outcome of this case and consider carefully the harm they are doing to their citizens by refusing to cooperate with federal law enforcement officers."
KPIX 5 political insider Phil Matier joining us now. Phil, you've been around this city a long time. Your reaction?
Well, I have to say it. It's a San Francisco jury, and I think that's one of the reasons why the defense team decided to keep it in San Francisco despite all the pretrial publicity. Let's take a listen to what Public Defender Jeff Adachi had to say about it.
Although this case was a terrible tragedy, our greatest fear is that Mr. Garcia Zarate would not be able to get a fair trial. And today, the jurors demonstrated that regardless of the, again, the tremendous amount of negative publicity in this case, before the facts were even known, before the evidence of the ricochet even came out, that he was able to get a fair trial.
Now, that trial was in a court of law, and now we go back to the court of public opinion, where this verdict is already playing nationally. We have the Attorney General weighing in, warning or issuing statements about sanctuary cities. And it comes at a time also when signatures are out there being collected for a possible ballot initiative to roll back the state legislatures and the governor's decision to declare California a sanctuary state. So this is going to play into that debate as well.
So now it's political, and what about the mayor? Mayor of San Francisco? Is he weighing in?
So far, we called him, and his reply is no comment, or rather terse no comment. And in part, that's because it is the city's sanctuary city verdict that is on trial as well. The San Francisco sanctuary city policy was one of the first and one of the leaders in this. And after Kate Steinle, it was redone, but it was not made any tougher in terms of handing people over to immigration. If anything, it was reinforced to say that San Francisco is standing as a sanctuary city. And once again, we're waiting for the verdict on that as far as the public opinion goes.
Absolutely. All right, Phil. And joining us now, KPIX 5 political reporter Melissa Caen. You are an attorney. We talked a little bit before the verdict came in. Are you surprised?
Yes, I think so many of us are. I mean, we know he had the gun. We know that the bullet came from the gun that he had. And while it seemed like there was anecdotal evidence that sometimes this type of gun will go off by accident, there was also expert testimony that it doesn't, that you have to pull the trigger for this gun to go off. And whether or not he was aiming at Ms. Steinle, whether or not he meant to kill her, when you fire a gun, purposely pull a trigger in a public place, and someone is injured or dies as a result, you've committed a crime. That's a grossly negligent, criminally negligent thing to do. And the jury today just said, you know what, reasonable doubt is still there.
Right.
And in the meantime, Melissa, there's been a massive national debate over sanctuary cities like San Francisco. How has that played into all of this? Do you think it affected the jury's decision at all?
Well, we don't know what was in the mind of the jurors so far. They're not really speaking. And I'll tell you, early on in this trial, the judge banned any discussion of gun control and sanctuary cities, making sure that neither side was able to talk about that or bring that in. Now, having said that, these are San Franciscans. They live here. They've seen everything that's led up to this moment. So if they wanted to, send a message to the Trump administration, perhaps, or his supporters, maybe they were, thinking of that, or that was in the back of their mind somehow.
But there's going to be a lot of Monday morning lawyering over this one, what went wrong. And the prosecution painted a very narrow case for murder. And some were saying, well, all the defense had to do was create doubt, and they created doubt.
Well, I mean, you have to lay out a story for the jury to believe. So it is always sort of by necessity going to be a bit narrow. And like I said, the reasonable doubt standard is high. And as Phil said earlier, San Francisco's juries are very difficult to persuade on this point. And so they lay it out. They lay out all the steps leading to the charges that they've brought, and then they hope that there's reasonable doubt. But it looks like in this case, the defense was able to create that doubt by bringing in these experts who say, it's possible that the gun just went off, because if he pulled the trigger, he was guilty of one of those charges. What they're saying is he did not pull the trigger.
Interesting. It's a good case.
Yeah, Melissa Caen, thank you.